Hello, friends. I'm your host, Dave Layton, and welcome to Signs of Our Time, discovering America's heritage, one sign at a time. This podcast is designed to provide the story behind the story found on America's roadside historical signs. Today, we have a real treat in this episode. Usually, I'll do research about the story behind the story on a particular historical marker. And I was talking with somebody that I recently met about historical markers, and I was looking on their Facebook page, and I saw a comment by somebody, and come to find out he's related to somebody that was on the historical marker, so I thought it would be great to have him as a guest. So in this episode, I'm speaking with Charlie Emmett, and Charlie and I have just become friends, and that's great. We were talking before the show. We actually share a common heritage that we didn't know about. But anyway, that's another story for another day. I'm going to let Charlie introduce himself, and then we'll find out the story behind the story on the historical marker that he's very much aware of. Well, hello, Charlie.
Hello. How are you, sir?
I am good, Charlie, and it is a joy to meet you. We've corresponded a couple of times, and I'm glad to have you on the podcast. So as we begin this, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you living right now, by the way?
Well, we live now in Midlothian, Texas, which is about 25 miles southwest of Dallas. As you can probably hear in my accent, I'm a native-born Texan, and somebody may need some interpretations on some things, but
yeah. Well, I understand you. I spent I spent about 13 years of my Air Force career stationed in San Antonio.
Right.
And so I understand. In fact, I have a T-shirt that says "Yo hablo Texan."
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. You said Midlothian?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I happen to know where that is.
Right. It was once when we moved out of, I was born and raised in Dallas, and we moved out to get our kids out a little bit farther into a more rural area. And we moved out here 35 years ago, and we've been here ever since. And I'm married to my wife, Kay, of 44 years, and we have 3 kids, and Jessica Emmett Sellers, Valerie Emmett Varicella, and my son, Charles Emmett III. That's the biggest blessing we ever had with the three great kids. So,
yeah. Well, you've been married 44 years. That's wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think she's put up with a lot. So, we were born and raised, like I said, in the Oak Cliff area of Dallas. My father, Charles Emmett Sr., his parents were both from Cefalù on the island of Sicily. And my mother, Pauline Bono Emmett, her parents are both from Palermo on the island of Sicily, and they all immigrated to the Texas area either through New Orleans or through Galveston. My mother's parents settled in Dallas, and my father's parents settled in that area where the church is, Burleson County, between Caldwell and Bryan, Texas, down in the southeast part.
Okay, now when did they come to America?
My grandparents came here in the late 1880s.
Okay.
They were all young teenagers to early 20s.
Okay, great. Great.
Yeah,
let's talk about your grandfather. He is the subject of the historical marker.
Right.
How did that come about? Yes, please.
Okay. My grandfather, Joe, immigrated here, like I said, in the late 1880s with his wife, Josephine Santamaro. And they came here and married and had 9 kids. and there was no place for them to go to Mass. It was too far to drive on a wagon to go to Bryan, which is about 15 miles, to go to church. So they had church on the porches of houses of everybody in that little community was from Cephalou, which is where my grandfather was from. They were all relatives and or friends. And they got together and donated part of their crop from a harvest on their cotton fields to buy the materials.
Wait. If I remember reading it correctly, you said they shared part of their crop, but it was actually a little bit more unique than that. They dedicated 2 or 3 rows of the
10
cotton.
rows. 10 rows.
Oh,
10,
I thought
what
that
they
was
call
great.
10 field rows of excuse me, of their cotton. And you're talking about a bunch of very poor people.
Uh-huh.
And that was a very big sacrifice for all of them to keep the ability to keep their faith going. Then when all of them that donated, they bought the materials and then they constructed the church, and it only took 6 weeks for them to build the first original church, which had its first Mass in October of 1908.
Okay.
Okay, the story that is the driving force behind this is a young girl named Weta Scamardo, and she's a relative also. She is was a 12-year-old girl who was out walking in the fields, and supposedly the story goes that she saw a vision of a lady in a black dress who told them they needed to build the church.
Okay.
She told her parents kind of dismissed her, and then after her third encounter that she claimed she had, they took her to the priest in Bryan, and the priest in Bryan said that he felt like that was a sign for them to build the church, and that was the impetus for them to donate this materials and the labor to build the church.
Okay.
And so I don't believe it was ever really designated a true sighting as far as through the church, but it's the story that they had. And this lady, after she got breast cancer in her early 40s, she still did a pilgrimage every year to the church on either the day of her diagnosis or whatever, until the day she died, which she ended up becoming cancer-free, supposedly. And but her family, the Scamardos, are still like curators of the church. And one of the ladies we met when we went down there, and she showed us where the key was hiding at the time. And we just went through the church, and it made reference to all of the families who gave time, money, and construction, of which my grandfather was one of them. He was just a poor farmer.
Yeah.
And, they didn't leave Italy because they had a lot of money. They left Italy because they were broke. And they came down here. They ended up with 160 acres. He raised 9 children on it. And then after the Depression, everybody moved to Dallas.
Right, yeah.
And 7 of the 9 children started grocery stores in predominantly black neighborhoods in the Oak Cliff area of Dallas. And all they knew was work from daylight to dark.
Oh, yeah.
And taking that. And that was what my grandfather instilled in them, and they tried to instill in us.
Okay. That's a great story. And so, again, the historical marker captures a lot of the heart of that story.
Yes, sir.
What led to the idea that let's set up a historical marker about this?
Well, the history on that is a little bit hard to find. The marker was set up in 1974.
Oh, okay.
And during that time, as the best I can research, is that the Historical Society set up kind of a subset of religious influences upon the state.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. And so they went in, and in 74, I think there are other churches throughout the state that have a lot of also significance. In a German community down by LaGrange, there's a place called the Painted Churches, and there's historical markers for all of them.
Okay.
And then, I mean, pretty much anywhere you go, if you find a segregated community of nationalities, there'll be a marker, depicting what was the centerpiece of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
okay.
Hopefully that explained it.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the historical marker database?
I thought I went to some part of it, but I may not have gone to the right place.
Okay. Okay. Because you can research. They have over 300 or around 300,000 historical markers that they have all kinds of information on. I didn't go and look, but probably that marker about your grandfather and all of that is probably there. So you might check that out as well. Okay.
Okay.
So it's been there 51 years.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was built it was placed in 74, so it's been there 51 years.
Yes, sir.
Well, maybe Chris will find his way down there to restore that marker.
Yeah. Well, as you noticed when you responded, I sent it to Chris and saying, "Hey, you want to take a look at it?" And he said he might. So he got that area of Texas is one of the centerpieces of the heart of the start of the Republic of Texas. Mm-hmm. Goliad and Washington on the Brazos and all of them are all within 20 or 25 miles of there.
Yeah.
That is kind of where the birth of the Republic of Texas was. And
Texas is an amazing state. It's just got such an incredible heritage.
Right. I mean, we are applauded and hated for our love for Texas. I'm born and raised in Texas and intend to be buried in Texas. And I just felt like I was lucky to be born here, and that is the way I feel about it.
In my high school years, I was raised by my grandparents, and we lived up in the Fayetteville, Arkansas area. So yes, I was a hardcore Razorback fan, and I used to hate Texas because, sure enough, Arkansas would be having a great year, and then Texas would beat us in football.
Right.
And they used to break my heart. But after being...
I know the greatest game ever, the 13-14 game when Texas ended up winning on a fourth down play against Arkansas when they were 1-2. I was a big UT fan at the time, so it was. I think we probably saw it. We saw it from a different view.
Boy,
Fayetteville was
after.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, after being stationed in Texas and living there and just really being absorbed in the culture, it's one of our favorite places to go to spend some time there.
Right. It has a lot of everything. I mean, it has from dry to arid. I mean, from arid to mountains to the deep green of East Texas, and the Panhandle and everything else. I mean, it's. I could spend the rest of my time on this earth just searching out parts of Texas and being happy. We love it, and I mean, I'm just. I don't know that people claim we get just consumed by being Texan, and it very well may be true. But
I have opportunity to travel to Texas several times a year, usually in the Marshall area over close to Shreveport.
Right.
And it's totally different as soon as you get over toward Dallas, and then you get past Dallas, and then Okay, well, let's get back to the marker. Where is it located?
Okay, it is located exactly. It is historical marker 8652, It's off of County Road 222, 1/2 mile west of FM 50 in Burleson County.
In Burleson County. Okay.
Yeah,
I know
Burleson
where that
County.
is.
Uh-huh. Actual address is 9203 County Road 286, Caldwell, Texas.
Okay. So about your grandfather, you said he immigrated from Italy. Now, when he immigrated, was he a farmer? Is that what I understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They lived in Cefalu is a port town outside of the Palermo area. Yeah, and agriculture is basically all they knew. And when they got the land, they raised cotton and they raised. Of course, with 9 kids, he raised his own workforce also.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, my father is the 4th, and he was born in 1910. So he was just a young man when the Depression hit, and it really devastated him. Now, we kept the land in the family until after my grandfather passed away in the late 60s, and then we sold it. Too many, different people and stuff for them to try to figure out how to do anything with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes money is easier to disperse than dividing up land 9 ways.
Right.
So, but that's all Grandpa knew. I mean, even when he moved to Dallas, he lived about 200 yards from our grocery store. Yet my aunt that never married that lived with them, she would go out in the yard and harvest her own chickens. She wouldn't walk down and have Daddy just cut her one up out of the meat cache. And Grandpa raised vegetables and grapes to make his own wine and everything else. And this man worked until he passed away in his mid to late 80s, and was known to be one of the strongest people. I mean, his sons were still scared of him on his deathbed. And he was just immensely loyal, immensely quiet about things, spoke broken English, and raised his children to be respectful. I mean, his children followed him, and 4 of them lived within 2 miles of him here in Dallas.
Yeah. What's exciting about that is that he came to America to follow the American dream. And because of his spirit, his hard work, his independence, and all of that, that's just, he personifies exactly what that American dream is all about. And where better than the state of Texas, where you have that opportunity to do all of that. So
right, and one thing is the Southern Italians and Sicilians were discriminated against quite a bit. We were not. We were discriminated. That's why all 7 of my aunts and uncles and parents on my father's side, and 4 on my mother's side, all opened grocery stores in predominantly black neighborhoods. It was easier to get past the resentment by both of them.
Sure.
And my mother, of course, everybody hopes their mother is, but I know my mother's a saint. She's just one of those people that could not stop and not help somebody. And that is what they tried to instill in us. My father was the same way. He just wasn't as vocal as that. But like I said, my grandfather barely spoke English when he got here, but he learned the best he could. His kids were bilingual.
Yeah.
I'm second generation. We're monolingual. They told us we live in America, and I asked about them teaching us their dialect of Sicilian, and my mom just told me point blank that you live in America and you need to assimilate. And I I can promise you that is the mentality of most Italian immigrants, because I'm on a couple of pages for Italian immigrants, and we've discussed it. And it was a deal that I'm an American, I'm Italian American, and I'm Texan. And, that's it. And like I said, I've never been to Italy, but I do. I'm very proud of my heritage of being an Italian American.
Okay. Excuse me. I started to say, Chris, Charlie, that is a great story about your granddad and about that heritage of the family, and you're obviously very proud of him and should be. I think that's a great thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let me wrap up. This has been fascinating, and I think our audience is going to enjoy this.
Okay.
Well, friends, there you have it. A different take on historical markers, but one that is interesting to learn about. Many times when we see a marker, we may even stop and read it. But in this episode, we hear from a living relative of the heritage and the subject on the marker, and it helps bring to life that rich heritage of our great nation, made up of great people, perhaps not famous, not well known throughout the world, but nevertheless contributed in wonderful ways to our great nation. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to subscribe and continue listening as we bring more episodes about the rich heritage of our great nation. Please share this podcast with others. And if you have interesting stories about historical signs and markers, email me at americanhistoricalmarkers@gmail.com. That's americanhistoricalmarkers@gmail.com. Maybe your story behind the story will be featured. I'm your host, Dave Layton, and thank you for listening, and safe travels.